Hi, I'm Jason Rulo from Neptune Performance Products, and I was at a race this weekend and decided that we needed to shed some light on the situation. The race this weekend was called the Abominable Snow Race. Lots of snow. It was supposed to be pretty cold. Last year wound up being about 25 degrees. This year was more like 40 to 45. But there was a lot of misconception about what you need to be wearing and how you deal with cold. And in fact, 25 degrees, even 20 degrees, is not nearly as dangerous if you were dry as you would be in this race versus, say, a Tough Mudder at 40 degrees or 45 degrees. And in fact, DJ Hart, who's the world's toughest mudder, spoke to him after the race. He usually runs in his skivvies, and he said he's been much colder at many Tough Mudders due to the fact that he gets wet. So the basis is the first question is, are you going to get wet? And it doesn't matter if it's an OCR or you're hiking or whatever, you have to ask yourself, are you going to get wet? Because if you're going to get wet, it changes everything. So I liken it to this. If you are in the shower in a cold locker room at the gym, and you go in, you're all warmed up from your workout, you feel great, you take a hot shower, the second you turn that hot water off, you're like instantly getting cold. Because the room is relatively cold, and now you've got this water on you that's trying to evaporate quickly and cooling down very quickly. So think of it that way. You're going to get cold really fast in that type of a situation. And it really doesn't matter if it's sweat, like for instance, if you're wearing too much clothing and you start sweating, or if it's going under a dunk wall and it gets you all wet. If your body starts to get wet, the evaporation is going to occur and you're going to get cold pretty quickly. So you want to be aware of that. Like I said, it changes everything. Are you going to be able to keep moving? That's another thing. If you're doing a Tough Mudder and it's really crowded, chances are you're not going to be able to keep moving. You're going to have to stop and wait at obstacles. I ran in later heats, did not race, quote unquote, this race, and got stuck in one obstacle. I was stuck for 15 minutes. So I was glad I was wearing my Neptune at that point. 45 degrees, yes, but I was sweating and standing around. You're going to get cold pretty quickly. So that's the secondary question. If it's a traditional OCR, not a Spartan or a Tough Mudder, there's a chance you could be standing around. Spartan, you're not going to be waiting all that much, and you get to do burpees should you fail it, so you're still not standing around. Whereas in a traditional OCR, that's obstacle completion, you may have to stand around and retry a few times. So the gear selection really comes down to those points. Are you continually moving, and are you going to get wet? Making good choices that are going to keep you from sweating, but keep you in a comfortably cold environment. You don't want to be too hot, obviously, because that's going to decrease your performance, and it's not going to be very fun, and you're going to sweat, which is therefore going to cool you off too quickly and make you cold once you're done. So you want to be comfortably cool is what I would say. Embrace the suck. Is it windy? That's another question. People that do the Spartan World Championships race, they have to deal with the wind that's up there on the mountain right after they get out of the water. So the wind matters. Even if your windbreaker is wet, it will protect you against some of the wind and will trap some of the heat in, especially if you're wearing a Neptune. If you wear a windbreaker over the top of it, it's going to trap some stuff in there. It's going to keep that airflow off your skin and keep you from that cooling down as quickly. So a windbreaker in a windy race or a windy, anytime you're hiking or whatever, that's a real key. So you want to make sure you've got one of those with you at all times. Frigid temps. Don't underestimate how fast you will cool down in sub 20 degree weather. Now, if you are a person that's from Wisconsin, you're cheesehead or Minnesotan, you're used to the cold, your body has had a chance to adapt, it's just going to affect you less than somebody who, say, comes up from St. Louis. We've had some pretty cold weather this year, but it's not been that cold comparatively compared to what they're used to, and we're less adapted to that. So those are the key points. Make sure you understand all of those and that you think about those because wearing an Under Armour cold gear, if you're going to get wet, is not a good idea. That sops up water. Anything that absorbs water, if you know you're getting wet, is a bad thing. You want things that are going to absorb less water, less thick. Yes, they're going to trap less air next to your skin when they're dry, but they're also not going to be sopping wet when they're once you go submerged. So think about all those things. Maybe the Neptune is something you can look up. Maybe something like frog skins, if it's cold enough, and if you're going to be submerged in water enough, like a World's Toughest Mud or a Toughest event, nighttime events, especially when you don't have the sun, including something like a neoprene top or maybe even a shorty wetsuit, something like that may be necessary. If you're dry, you could wear something as simple as a down vest or something like that, because if you're not getting wet, it's not going to matter. But as soon as that thing gets wet, it's useless. So if you got any questions, feel free to contact me at jasonrulo@neptuneperformance.com. Happy to answer any questions. If you got any questions, go ahead and check out the Neptune, because here at Neptune Performance Products, where comfort in all conditions is what we're looking for. Good luck out there.